Hello, everybody, and welcome out to episode 58 of the Pod of War Gamescast. I'm your host, Ewa Gizmo, joined today, as I always am, by Massive Dash Chris Pengeli.
Hello, everyone.
And, of course, Mr. Xbox Live, CW Lanky.
Hello.
I've said that
Isn't
just
it
as...
Isn't it Xbox Network now? Didn't they get rid of the live?
I have no idea. I said that just as Sarah Bond appeared on our screens. So Craig is inextricably linked with Xbox that much that he just can just dream Xbox executives into our chat. But
Be Uncle Larry next.
if only. But yeah, welcome to the show. So this week we've got a big episode. We've been teasing it for a little while, which is our Xbox versus PlayStation 2 years later chat. But before we get to that, we have to do a very short rigmarole. So Pengy, what have you bought?
Wait, we're not doing the 10th anniversary Wii U chat.
No, me and you can cry in a room by ourselves for that, Pengy, can't we?
Oh, I think I've come to the wrong podcast.
You've definitely come to the wrong podcast. Anyway, before Pengy derails me again, Pengy, what have you bought? What have you been playing this week?
I have bought nothing this week.
It might change next week, but yeah, carry on.
Yeah. And I've literally... Well, I haven't actually just been playing two games, because you would have seen on the channel I played Summerfield and Milk Inside a Bag / Milk Outside a Bag, so you can go watch that video, hear
It's a
more about
good
them.
self-plug there, Pengy. Proud of you.
Yeah. And apart from them, I talked about it on the Nintendo cast, so you could go again and watch that, little to the left. So those played a bit of, and then the other things are God of War Ragnarok, which I think last week, did I say I played like 12 hours? Was it about 12 hours? Can either of you remember?
No, I don't know. Let's go with
I think
yes.
you're on chapter... I don't know, actually. You're on chapter 14 or something like that?
God of War doesn't have chapters, but...
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, Craig,
Well,
go on.
I'm
But
sorry.
anyway,
I'm sorry, Chris.
I'm like 26 hours into that now, which is you can tell I'm doing the side quests because like on how long to beat. I think the main story's like 21, and I'm already like 5 hours past that. Yeah, so it's got a bit better since I spoke about it last week. There's introduced some other characters to the story, and I did a bit about around Atreus and stuff. So I did get but I would have played more, but why we had the Gamecast episodes because I've literally just been playing Pokemon since it came out on Friday.
Lovely stuff. Le Pengel.
Mm-hmm.
Which one did you buy, Penky?
I got Violet.
Is that the red one or the silver one?
It's the Violet one.
It's the purple one.
Okay.
Penky's being very facetious today. Love it. Wow. Craigo, what have you bought? What have you been playing?
All I've played is more Playtale again. I've just finished chapter 13, so I'm at the very, very start. Chapter 14 now, so I'm getting near the end. Definitely a lot longer than the first one, but it kind of justifies its added length because it's still been very good. Yeah, I don't know if I can say much more than I already have in the last couple of weeks. I think this might be the last week may probably get to finish it this week. I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it's got 17 chapters. So
yeah, I don't think I'm going to go for any completion-y chapter things because even though it's got like chapter select and all of that, I think you're going to have to play through like a lot of the game again to get all of the kind of collectibles and stuff that are in it. So I might just finish it and move on, or maybe mop up some of the easier ones I can get, and then move on because there's just so much else to be out there playing.
There's never enough games, Craigo.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, just still going on that one. I said chapter 14. So yeah, hopefully finish that off this week.
Lovely.
Didn't think about. I know you've been playing that. Didn't think about dipping your toes into either of the like, I guess big-ish Game Pass releases because they're both exclusive to Xbox at the moment. Penman and Somerville.
No, one at a time, Pengles. That's the rule, Pengy. This is how you don't end up with a 300 game backlog like you, one at a time.
Yeah.
Focus.
The Craig way.
Yes.
Well, that being said, Craigo, it's my turn. So I've got one physical pickup this week, which of course was a very, very spontaneous Pokemon Scarlet. And I'll tell you the story of the spontaneity of that in a minute. The other two pickups are digital. I bought Luna Stice? Pengy? Where's my brain gone
I'm
here?
not sure.
Which is a little platformer on Switch. It was a £5. It wasn't even a £5 because of points, and it's really good. You should buy it. If you've got a Switch, it's like £5. It's really good. And I bought Monster Hunter Rise in the sale, which cost me about a tenner. It cost me 12 exactly. So that's there. Obviously, Craig has that game now as well, so I'm going to have to bully Craig into us absolutely killing ourselves in co-op. So
You made mistakes there, Dave. You're never playing that. It's never.
Oh, we'll play it. We'll play it. It's fine, Craig. I believe in us. We'll do it.
Yeah, I'm ready. You literally tell me when.
Pengy's going to carry us, Craig. So that's even more of a thing we need to see, you know?
Yeah.
Pengy, did you ever play the DLC for that? Or did you
I
give up?
played some of the DLC.
So no is the answer.
Oh, here we go. Define some, Chris. 10 minutes. You checked it worked? Loaded it up?
Downloaded it. That's it. Didn't you have to load again?
I've done Master Rank 2 quests. So I'll be starting the Master Rank 3 quests.
How many master ranks are there for context?
In terms of the story of the Sunbreak, I think it's 7.
Ah.
Okay.
We'll see. Obviously, me and Craig haven't got Sunbreak, so we've been a little bit sensible. We're just gonna play the main game first. But yeah, that's that. As for the story behind Pokemon Scarlet and its spontaneity, so I was literally going to list my Switch on Music Magpie, sell it. But annoyingly, you need the Switch controller holder thing.
Okay, the dog bone.
Yeah, the dog bone, and I can't find that, so I didn't list it. And so I was like, right,
what?
You need
the thing that you plug the Joy-Cons into.
Yeah, it literally loses
that thing.
£40 value if you don't include it on Music Magpie from £100. So
I
was like,
I've actually used that thing.
No, I that's why I can't find it, because where it is, Craig, I couldn't tell you. It's probably in the box somewhere in Bristol, in a bin. I have no idea. So it's one of those. I was like, right, okay, I'll do. So I could sell it. There's other ways for me to sell it, and I was like, right, I've got this thing. I'm a terrible person for doing what Chris does, selling stuff and rebuying it. Right, so I've got this. I had this day one Switch. Either I play the games on it or here it goes. Right. So then I watched a review for Pokemon, and I was like, you know what? If I'm not going to play this, I'm not going to play anything on it. So let's just buy it. If I don't play it, then I know it's never meant to be. The Switch can be set on fire. We can all call it a day, and I never have to have this conversation again. As it turns out, quite like Pokemon. Quite a lot. I've actually played 14 hours of Pokemon since Friday. And I am loving it. So, as we mentioned on the Nintendcast, the elephant in the room is that it runs like absolute trash. It is probably the worst running Nintendo game I've ever seen. I'm talking single frames for some of the background characters when you're in cities and stuff. It's hilarious. It's actually hilarious. The windmill is at 4 frames a second if you're a yard away. But the core game is by far the best Pokemon game I've ever played. It is. It's open. It's just good. The designs are really nice because they've gone back to the Pokemon looking like animals, and they always look better when they're animals, right? You know what I mean? When it's just a pig or a flamingo, it looks good. And yeah, it's crazy. It does feel like the evolution that we wanted. It does feel like the Breath of the Wild for Pokemon, because it literally is you do the tutorial at the beginning, and then it goes, hey, so these are the things you need to do. These are the 3 story quests, quest lines. You can do it in any order. Here they are on the map. Do whatever you want. You can stumble in, and be underleveled. You can literally go and do whatever you want in this world. So it's crazy. It's really crazy, and I'm really enjoying it, because I think the problem with a lot of Pokemon games, especially the more recent ones, is it holds your hand. So in Sword and Shield, for example, you literally get dragged from left to right, don't you, Chris? You have no choice. And I know they started doing that with Arceus, Legends Arceus, but it's they've evolved it again, and this actually an open world. It's not sections that you go to. I know Arceus Legends feels more like Monster Hunter in that regard. You go to a section, you do the quest lines, and you come back. Whereas this is much more open, and again has all the Pokemon roaming around. Has the raids from Sword and Shield, which is probably the best content from that game. That's all there to begin with, and the starters are quite cool, and it's just an enjoyable game. The characters seem good. It's just that it runs at I don't know 480p 17 frames a second for most of the game. I think that's its only real issue. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying Pokemon. Like and I mean this, like it has jumped to the top of my game of the year list comfortably. Like I'm probably gonna have that game finished this week. Like, and I'm aiming finished. Like I've caught 104 Pokemon. Like I'm really just plowing through that game like properly, doing every bit of side content, doing the trades when they pop up, doing all the side, like each of the little sections. Craig has like rewards for beating all the trainers. So it's like, I've seen you've been battling. If you battled 7 trainers, if you have, here's this free TM. And it's like, that's cool. And then you can now craft TMs, which is really cool. Like you get the materials from fighting Pokemon, like you did in Legends Arceus. It's like all that stuff is like this like amalgamation of the last 10 years of Pokemon in this one game. And it's such a shame that it runs badly, because I honestly think it would be like it's reviewing. I think it's reviewing worse than the Diamond and Pearl remakes. I think, right, Chris? Which is like an absolute disgrace, because those games are the most boring games I've ever played. But yeah, I can't recommend Pokemon enough. Like I honestly think that Pokemon Scarlet is unreal.
Do you reckon the technical stuff is the Switch holding it back, or do you reckon part of it's the fact that they just keep churning out the same?
It's definitely
2 games a year.
Because I think we would turn around and be like
do better, don't they?
Well, this is what I was going to say. So Breath of the Wild, the Zelda team had help from Monolith Soft, who make Xenoblade. Now they are literally magicians. Like every Xenoblade game is ridiculous for how they managed to make it work on the console it's on. Like how the first game runs on a Wii, I don't know. Like again, like I've made video games, I don't know. Like, and I know Chris has said from Xenoblade Chronicles 3, like there's barely a load time and it's beautiful the whole time. Like it's consistent.
Yeah, the one difference, obviously, Pokemon is open world, where Xenoblade does have the zone a bit, where you go to.
Yeah.
Sort of, you have your big map and you have your different zones, but the zones are massive. You have a party of like 7 at you, so you got 7 characters on the screen.
And obviously the monsters are all huge.
You got all the monsters running around and huge, and then obviously when you are battling, you got these 7 characters, and you can be battling 5 soldiers and that. There's tons going on. Yeah, screen. It does use like Monster Hunter does it as well, and I guess Pokemon's trying to do it. Where the trick is you can see like a monster in like really far away, and it's like. Especially if they're flying, when you can see their wings flapping, it's like that's running at 2
it uses like camera, what's it called, like camera rendering. So like you only renders what's in your immediate view, like in the draw distance is. So like
Kirby does exactly the same.
Kirby does it, and like old GTA games were the easiest example of this, because you would see it in like GTA Vice City or GTA 3, like games. It's why it's so prevalent with pop-in, right?
Yeah.
But I think the problem with Pokemon, and you can see that it needs more time because they've panicked. And so the reason that the characters, when you get a certain distance away, they drop frames, is they don't drop frames because it's lagging. They drop frames because you can clearly see that it's been coded to use less frames, so it doesn't use as much memory, because it's still smooth, but it's just less animation frames, if that makes sense. So like say like most games characters, like a walk cycle would be 10 animation frames, for example. They have 10 different bits from walking to standing. Whereas you can see with these games, it's been switched to like 4. So it's the very basic, like your leg goes in the middle, then it's straight again, as opposed to the smooth all the motion. So that's how I think they've got around it to stop the game crashing constantly. I haven't had any of the big glitches. Like people are saying like they're getting like stuck in the world. I haven't had any of that. Like it's just run badly. Like I haven't had any glitches at all. And I'm playing on a launch Switch docked mainly. It does look a lot better undocked. I did play a little bit downstairs last night, and it looks and runs a lot better handheld, which I think is understandable because it's all squished, so it's like it's not as obvious. Like if you're playing on like a 50-inch TV, it's very obvious that the game looks terrible. but yeah, like I said,
because you imagine like if like that Pokemon game with like the Xenoblade polish would be like being quite a sight to see, I'd imagine.
Well, if this game ran like Xenoblade, like if this game ran like the Xenoblade games I've played on Switch, it'd be as highly rated as God of War, because every other aspect of the game is superior to any other Pokemon game that I've played. Like it does take the best of all the games that have come out. Like I don't think you can look at this game and not be like impressed by it in terms of what it asks, like the actual freedom of the game, the actual quality of the Pokemon, the quality of the systems, like the UI elements, like the fact that the Pokédex is literally a library, and it has this really cool animation every time you catch something, and it's like a book going in a shelf. and it's like all that kind of like polish is there, and it looks really cool. And the fact that there's just Pokemon centers in the middle now, of like everywhere, you haven't got to like go into a city to heal. There's like at the end of every section, like the whole world is cut into sections. There is at least one healing station, if not two. Like, you know what I mean? Where you buy everything, you sell everything
at each end of the town, and
you can just do the boxes like on you. You don't have to go to a computer and swap your Pokemon out. Same for the raids. You just pick it there. You can even pick from your box. So yes, Pokemon's really good, and like I wish that Craig would be tempted, because I think the multiplayer would be quite fun. But it's one of those where like I don't like it's similar to Legends, so it's like if you've only got one Pokemon game a year in you, I can understand. But I think it's probably the most fun I've had on Switch this year. But anyway, that's enough talk about the Switch, boys and girls. So we've teased it for a few weeks. We're going to have a little catch-up chat. As you can see, Daddy Phil on the screen right now talking about Starfield. We're going to have a little catch-up about the two big consoles, which I will call current gen. The Nintendo is its own thing. We won't have that discussion here because I know Chris would argue it all day. How are we doing? So we've had quite a unique situation really in our group, in that we've all kind of played everything to an extent. Obviously Craig is the most pure Xbox blood amongst us, so his view is pure Xbox, which I'm very interested to hear, to be honest with you. And obviously me and Chris are me and Chris. We do what me and Chris do. So as I've been talking for the last 5-6 minutes straight, Craig, what do you think about the Xbox Series X and Xbox in general 2 years post-launch?
We did I think we did a year in review.
We did last year.
Yeah. I think I was kind of the most positive about probably maybe both systems, even though I've only played one of them. Then. And I think I'm still pretty much in exactly the same place, in all honesty, with you. I think that the services that Xbox has are still great, obviously. It's still just throwing more games than I can ever possibly play at my own Game Pass, which is all I really need. Obviously, first party this year has been pretty pitiful, although obviously Pentman's just come out and it's reviewing well. Other than that, I think it's just kind of more the same. I think both systems could do with that next big thing. I know Chris was talking about like God of War being a bit samey, and same with Horizon on PlayStation, and maybe you said something about Xbox with Halo and Forza being more of the same. So I think they both need those like kind of like defining IPs that are going to define this generation, for example. But I guess you also got to remember we're only 2 years in. And a lot of the big IPs that we probably remember from last gen probably came more towards the mid/end as well. So
we've also had a lot of delays this gen.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, our Xbox, they want Starfield to be that thing.
Which is on screen right now, Craig. You've timed that really well.
Perfect. And that's what they want that game to be next year. They want it to be like, you remember playing Starfield on the Xbox Series S/S. So yeah, so delays have obviously affected everything. But yeah, I mean, I'm completely positive. I'm still happy. I still think the features they've added are great. I think it's the easiest thing to play on ever. The fact that I can just download like 360 games, just play them, just simply play them and load them up, and there's no hassle. And they look better and they play better. I just think it's in terms of like ease of use, it's just fantastic nowadays.
Lovely, Craig. Well, we always knew Craig was going to be very positive for the Xbox. Obviously, it's your main baby. Obviously, the only other thing you've bought is a Switch, which we'll talk about on another show for sure. See if it can be saved. But yeah, I mean,
I remember you having ideas for like January's episode about that.
Yeah, that's with lots of things to discuss. But yeah, I think to go off mine as well before we moved into paying you about Xbox, like I kind of feel the same as I did last year, in that I think if you're on Xbox and you're just on Xbox, I think it's a great time. I think that you're right. I think we do need more first party, but it is coming. I know that we say it every year, but it is coming. Like, you are going to get Starfield next year. You are going to get some bigger titles from Obsidian. I know they keep putting out the smaller titles, which are really cool and do really well, but like, you'll get a big one from them probably next year or the year after, and you'll get all of the other stuff that we know. Like, we'll get Redfall, we'll get all that kind of thing, right? So it's just difficult for me. I think my problem with it is still the same problem I had last year, in that I don't enjoy gaming off subscriptions, which is a me thing. Like I just don't. I struggle.
You want that resale therapy, Davey. You want to buy shit.
I mean, honestly,
You
yeah.
want to spend some money.
Yeah, it's kind of that weird thing. Is like, I think because I don't want it to be that way, and I try, and I just can't get it to stick. Like the amount of Xbox games I've started this year that I've enjoyed, like stuff like Ni no Kuni and Persona 5, and I've come on here and been like, it's an incredible game. It's the best game I've played this year, and it just never sticks, you know. And like I've still not done the Halo Infinite campaign. Now, sure, they haven't brought out the co-op, which is probably the problem.
It is out now, the co-op.
Yeah,
Is it all out now? Well, there you go. So like,
Yeah,
I didn't even
yeah.
know
It
that.
came
So
with
it's
the
like,
winter update.
okay, so like, you know what I mean? Like, so I haven't played that. That still needs to get played. Like, they keep putting these really cool experiences on Game Pass, but the one Xbox game I've played this year is the Forza Horizon DLC. It's the only thing that I can get out of bed for when it comes to Xbox at the moment. You know, like I just don't enjoy the stuff they're putting out. Like I'm not interested in Pentiment. Like I'm not interested in Grounded. So it's like, okay, you know, and yeah, like you said, like it's completely me. It's not them. Like they are putting out content, but like I like buying a game on. I like the Pokemon is that example. Like I like Thursday night deciding, hey, this game comes out tomorrow. It's not 70 quid, which is what we'll talk about the other one in a minute. So I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna play it. Like feel involved because all my friend Luke has been texting me non-stop for the last 48 hours because he's also playing it, and we're just, you know, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this. What are you doing? What are you doing? So like it feels like games used to. And I think I miss that with Xbox because I don't vibe with it, you know? Like, I don't vibe with it. I still think it's the best platform. I still think that the console is great, the controller is great. Everything you want it to do, it does well. Like Craig said, it just is so easy to just play a game on Xbox. I think it's the easiest console to play a game on. And I think it's probably the most powerful. I think we could have that argument as well. Like, games look great on it, but it's just, yeah, I just can't get over this like Game Pass thing. Like I just can't get over it, which again is all on me. I'm fully admitting that.
I think that is the thing with the Xbox. If you don't want to play games through Game Pass, then I would imagine it is just a terrible experience at this point because everything is built so much towards Game Pass now.
Literally everything.
Which for me is perfect. Like I love that. I'm all about that. But if, like I said, if you are someone who doesn't want to play games that way, then yeah, it's not the console for you at this point. It really is so catered towards like the needs of the world.
Yeah, and it has that almost like rent mentality, right? So like back in the day, you'd rent a game and you'd play it. If you didn't like it, you could just rent another game, and that's kind of how I think it feels to me. Whereas like if I buy a game on PlayStation, for example, like I've bought it on disc, I will play it and sell it, or you know what I mean? Like it's a tangible thing I've purchased. And I think it just goes with the type of gamer that I am now. Like, you know, it's just I'm not spending as much time gaming. And so, like, I don't want to have to pick the game. I think that's a really silly thing, but it's like I don't want to have to go on Game Pass and be like, what do I want to play today? Like, it's just like I want to be like, right, that game is on the shelf. I've just bought it, put it in, boom, play it. But yeah, Pengy, before we talk about PlayStation, what are you feeling towards your Xbox? I think yours is maybe similar to me, or I'm not sure really.
I feel I'm a little bit in between both of you. Because I do like Game Pass, like Summerfield, like I played that, talked about. It's a couple of hour experience. I think that works really well for Game Pass, that sort of game. You know, and it's like I think it is on Steam and Epic. I actually haven't checked the price for it. I could see it much through being 99 on one of those if you go on like PC. So you know, monthly Game Pass 11 quid, and you obviously got all that stuff. And Penment does look interesting as well. So there's definitely stuff on there. I do like that, but it's been like it. Again, it's I think I said this last year. It just feels like an upgrade to the Xbox One, which is a positive and a negative because it doesn't feel that much different. But the positive is, like Craig saying, it's the ease of access and stuff. You got the same dashboard, the same controller. Your games just work perfectly fine. You've got the 360 games that were made backwards compatible on the Xbox One just working, and because the new hardware is more powerful than that. Sort of thing, but it is like the disappointing lack in first party because since the Xbox Series to come out, Microsoft actually only published 10 games in total in 2 years, and one of them's like Deathloop, which was on PS5. So there hasn't been much of like exclusive, content for the system, and someone that has all three and like the Steam Deck as well for PC gaming and all that sort of thing. There's like stuff to just go to the Xbox side. There isn't a huge lot, but then next year, like I said, it doesn't look too bad. Like you got Age of Empires 2 getting the console port, you got Redfall, Starfield, and Forza Motorsport, and Minecraft Dungeons. Again, that will be on everything, though. But there is a few games sort of coming to the system next year. It's just lacks that. Well, its identity is Game Pass. That's the thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, because going back to the exclusives thing, what do you think is more important? Games being exclusive to the console or them being day one Game Pass?
I think it depends on the game and the gamer. And what I mean by that is, I think the thing that Xbox is missing this year with its games is nothing feels like an event. So like, it doesn't really matter how you get it. Like, it doesn't matter if it's Game Pass, it doesn't matter if you purchase it, but nothing feels like an event. Whereas God of War was an event. Horizon was an event. Like, you know what I mean? You know what that means? Like, because I think Starfield is the first game in the last 2 years where it feels like that's an event. When that game comes out, people will talk about it and people will play it. And it will be great that it's on Game Pass because you won't have to spend £70 on it. Like, I think when you get to that, that's when I think the first party's coming day one Game Pass really hits, because it's an event. And you're skipping the event, like you're getting it downloaded, you're not having to worry about the like, I don't think, when I say I like physical games, like, I don't think it's really the act of physically buying the game. It's just being part of the event, I think, is the big thing. Like, I know Chris has a real problem with this, with pre-orders, like, and that's why he can't help himself. Like, you want to be part of the conversation. Like I said, like, I want to play Starfield and be going, oh, Craig, I've just been here. Have you been here? And you'd be like, oh, no, I've been over here. Like, and then everyone on the internet is talking about all the streamers that we watch are streaming it, all the you know what I mean? Like, it's that big thing that Xbox hasn't had. So I think, to your question, I think when it's combined, it's great, but it is just having one or the other. Like, there hasn't even really been a big third-party game that's been on both, but Game Pass day one. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that hasn't been.
Plague Tale just come out.
Okay, so that was probably the first one, but then it's like, I haven't heard anyone really talk about that. Like, people talked about it the day it came out. It was like, oh, it's great. And then it's just been overshadowed by other games. Like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, again, like, everyone that's, like, you've played is saying it's great. And, like,
Yeah.
the people that, when it reviewed, but it's like, it doesn't feel like an event, does it? Like, maybe that's what the problem with third-party games are. Like, I get, like, it's a good game. It's also quite a small franchise, right?
Yeah, I can see both sides. Like, imagine next year of Resident Evil 4, and the only thing is PlayStation seem to have the like marketing for that. But like, if you imagine like Resident Evil 4 remake was on Game Pass, that would be
I think that would be a conversation game.
That would be a huge like day one on Game Pass sort of game. It's just, again, it's like personal things, having all the options for all the systems. Again, not everything, because there's been an odd PS5 exclusive. I look at this list of 10. There's 10 games in the last 2 years from Xbox studios, and of various degrees of quality as well. Like Psychonauts 2, most probably would be, well, actually Forza Horizon 5 would be the best one on the list, and then most probably Psychonauts 2 after.
And I think Forza Horizon 5 did feel like an event.
Yeah.
But obviously the problem is with it is it's a racing game, so people just don't like it.
Are on the Xbox One, apart from Flight Sim and Deathloop, which is on PS5, sort of thing. So it's going to like my PS4 to PS5 sort of thing. Like, I've been pretty happy with my PS4 this year, because I've still managed to play Horizon and God of War. If I had a One X, like, you could have still played Forza Horizon 5, for instance, on that is well. I think we talked a few episodes ago about new hardware, sort of thing. It felt to me like getting my Series X. Obviously, I had my refund from my PS5, but like, I could sell my Xbox One X. I had like my PS5 games I could sell because I had no PS5. So it was like, it's only going to cost me like £100 to upgrade to a Series X. And for that, it seemed decent sort of like thing, but still lack of content I would say is the issue for me with the Xbox platform.
And I don't think that's true, but I think it's true for our situations. I think for Craig, there's absolutely no lack of content because
there's too much content.
Yeah,
it's
because
endless.
that's his main platform. But
Yeah.
I think it becomes a lack of content when you have choice. So when you have choice, it's a lack of content. So like for me, for example, like me and Chris pulled this up not that long ago. Like I think I've only actually played 3 games on Xbox this year, in terms of finish, and 2 of those were.
I have choice. I have the Switch. Like for me, I don't know. I think it's maybe the way I view games differently. That I kind of don't see the gap in the bigger games and the smaller games.
No,
But like
but you
I
are the
would
best
see,
of us, Craig.
yeah. But like I would see something like Tinykin, for example, which came to Game Pass.
Yeah.
Like I am way more excited to go back and play that than anything that's come to Switch like in the last 6 months, let's say.
Yeah.
Like if you said to me, "Oh, you want to play Pokemon or Tinykin?" Like it's not even it's not even a thought that goes to my head. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to play Tinykin on Game Pass." So yeah, for me, I just feel that there's so much in that way. And like I said, because I guess I don't put like AAA physical games at like a higher level. I guess for me, I
think
kind of see them
also
all.
don't have port fatigue. So like for example, like Ni no Kuni and Persona 5 are completely new games to you. Right, like Yakuza like a Dragon
them
ones.
yet.
Well, no, but that's what I mean. Like they're completely new games for you. So if you were to turn around and be like, oh, like if you were that way inclined, like you said, like I want to play a big AAA game that's on Game Pass. Well, Persona 5 is the biggest and most AAA JRPG you're going to play. Like there isn't a game that's higher rated in that genre. So it's like I think your situation is so different to mine and Chris's, and neither situation is fully right or fully wrong. We're all different people. We all like different things, right? So it's like it's fine. I think in the greater conversation of how Xbox are doing, I think they're doing fine. I think they could do with some more exclusive Xbox content for the sake of the argument about it, and like we said, like the big event stuff. But if you're just an Xbox gamer, I don't think you're going hungry. You know, I don't think you're struggling with stuff to play. If you're just on Xbox, I think the problem is when you have other platforms that you prefer, because you don't prefer Switch to Xbox. You prefer Xbox. You like Game Pass, right? So it doesn't matter what comes to Switch. If you, like you said, like you've got this free game essentially because you're always going to be subscribed, and you like achievements, and you like the console. You always have the console on, so you're always playing the console. Like that's kind of how I always view it, and that's how when we talk about PlayStation in a minute, that's kind of how I view PlayStation at the moment. But yes, so that is Xbox. Let's talk about PlayStation. So, do you have any PlayStation comments, Craig? Because obviously you're the one that doesn't have a PlayStation in any way, shape, or form. Is there anything from the outsider that you any sort of things you think they're doing well, not doing well? Like, talk to us.
No, to be fair, like if I had a PlayStation and an Xbox, I think I'd still be enjoying like game. I don't think I'd be in a bad place. So I think they are like still doing well. Obviously, there's the positivity about when they started doing their version of Game Pass, which I can never remember what it's called.
PS Plus. Let's just go with that.
Because they overcomplicated it, didn't they?
It's also got 2 different names depending of which part of the eShop you look. It's either PS Plus Extra and Premium or PS Plus Extra and Deluxe. So,
which is it was weird when they started it because I felt there's a lot of momentum when they started because they had like Stray was day one. I feel like the conversation that I don't know if it's because I don't follow much PlayStation-y stuff. Like I haven't seen much conversation about it, so I don't know if they've like upheld that level of
literally no conversation.
Yeah, it's really strange. It's really bizarre that that's fallen away because it did seem like they were like going on the right track.
So as someone who actually uses it's fine, but it's exactly what we were just saying. PlayStation gamers in general prefer the big marquee game every 3 months. So they've been putting out good games on PS Plus Extra and Premium. Well, Extra Premium has been rubbish, but like all of the Yakuza games are on there now. All of the Dragon Quest games are on there now. All of the Kingdom Hearts games are on there now. Assassin's Creed's on there. You've got the Ubisoft games. You've got what else has gone on recently? You've got stuff like the older Saints Row games. You've got all this content of games.
Viewer in work has played Returnal because that's on there.
Returnal's on there. Death Stranding's on there. Ghost of Tsushima's on there. Spider-Man's on there. Miles Morales is on there.
The library's actually ridiculous if you look at it, but the problem is like it's going to be the problem with God of War Ragnarok. It's going to sell I think this already done stupid like numbers. It's gonna sell really, really well. Like I've already bought it. I know you haven't bought it yet, Dave, but it's gonna come to Plus, but whatever it's called. But it'll be like 2 years time, and like, yay, God of War Ragnarok's on there. I played that 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's weird. It's like the opposite to Game Pass, where I actually would love it if it had like loads of indies come to it that like I haven't played.
yeah. They seem to keep the indies for
But
main Game
that's
Pass.
but then that's what Game Pass is. Game
Yeah.
Pass is loads of indies coming to it that you haven't played.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's got loads of indies, but they say, Microsoft, first party's day one, but there hasn't been, and there's been 10 in 2 years. That's 5 a year,
Yeah,
yeah.
but they've had loads of
So
indies.
my,
Yeah, I think it's really getting more into where you want to play with that, Chris. If I'm honest, like,
yeah.
like
That
I
seems-
mean,
yeah.
like there is, if I wanted to play these indie games, they're on Xbox. Like I don't think that can be argued. There's very few indie games that come out that aren't on Game Pass now. Like that's just a fact. Like it's just a fact. And if they don't, then they're a particular type of game that suits PlayStation gamers usually, or they're like retro styled and they come to the Switch because these are the places where these games sell better. I think it's just a preference thing. Like you prefer a certain type of indie game and you prefer playing it either on your Switch or on your PlayStation. And I'm the same. Like we're about to say, like with the PlayStation, I've had a really good year of PlayStation. I've played more games on PlayStation than I've ever played on PlayStation. Like I've completed a lot of games on PlayStation, and I'm loving the PS5 now. I've been lucky and won a second one. I still think the price of games is the big issue, because I haven't bought a full price PlayStation 5 game yet. I always buy them when they drop to about 35. So like I haven't played God of War. I got Horizon with my console. I haven't played it. Gran Turismo I borrowed off my brother. Wasn't impressed at all. I don't know how it's been reviewed as highly as it has. It's not a fun game at all, and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, I think they're just two very different machines, but they are, like Craig said, I think if you're in the ecosystem, you're happy. Like if Chris had a PS5, I think he'd be happy with it now. But it is a case of two very different strategies that are kind of intertwining in like courtroom discussions about purchases and all that kind of shenanigans that we don't really care about. So, but yeah, you any closer to a PS5, Chris? I guess is the only real question for you.
I keep umming and ahhing about one because we've got, playing God of War. I'm like, the sooner it's at 60 frames a second than 30 frames a second. But then I'm playing Pokemon and it runs at like 4 frames a second. So that's not really like a valid argument of there. And again, I've also looked at the PlayStation. It's Sony published 16 games in the past 2 years, yet most of them are actually on the PlayStation 4. Like Death Stranding got obviously director's cut on PS5, but the normal version's on PS4. That's how I originally finished it and played it. God of War I'm playing now, it's on PS4. Horizon I played on PS4. I know you weren't a fan of GT7, but I could play that on PS4. Last of Us Remake, okay, that's exclusive to the PS5. Yet there's a remaster on the PS4 and you have the original on the PS3. So there's still a lack of exclusive
So I was trying to
content
think,
even on the PS5. The actual only exclusives are Astro, Demon Souls, Destruction All
well, seeing
Stars,
like Demon Souls
Returnal.
Demon Souls is a remake. So it's
Yeah,
like,
that's a remake as well.
It's a remaster. So you've got Astro, Ratchet.
That's basically it.
That's it. I think Returnal.
And Destruction All Stars.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Again,
So would you guys prefer if Xbox and PlayStation had left the previous gen behind and done more like exclusives for next
Yeah,
gen?
because I most probably, if let's say a Horizon and God of War, but full-on exclusives on PS5, I would have bought PS5 to play those two games. But because I can play them on my PS4, and the God of War Ragnarok, once I finish it, I don't know, it's going to be in my top 10 of the year. I think at the moment I put it about fifth or something like that. It's just still a highly quality game playing on PS4. So it's not knocking that sort of thing. But that's the thing where I always joke and says on the podcast, look, summer next year for Final Fantasy 16, because Final Fantasy 16 is only on. It was on PC, is only on PS5. That is a game that I really want to play. Would make me buy the console, where having God of War upgraded slightly is not a huge rush to go out and get one.
For me, no, it doesn't. It doesn't affect me how everyone else plays their games, as long as the games are not held back by the platform they're on. Which, in the case of God of War, I don't think is the case. In the case of Gran Turismo, I don't think is the case. In the case of Horizon, I don't think is the case. So, like, if you know what I mean, like for me, the PS5 is just a more comfortable console. It has a better controller. It's quieter. It loads quicker, so it does everything I want it to do. And I feel the same about Xbox. I don't think there's as many experiences that I want to play on Xbox compared to PlayStation at the moment. So I think that's me. But I don't think it affects me either way. The fact that people on PS4 can play the same game as me, like, that's fine. Like, it's on them. It's great that there's more options now, because in the past these wouldn't be options. Like, you'd be, like from the Xbox to the 360, like if you got a game on one, it would be drastically different to the game on the other. You wouldn't be able to play together, all that kind of stuff. Whereas now you can. That's great. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm quite happy that Chris on his PS4 can play the same games as me on the PS5. Am I annoyed that they're different prices on PlayStation? Yes, because they shouldn't be. Like, what benefit do I have about having your new expensive console if you're then going to charge me £10 more for the same game? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
You've got DualSense.
Yeah, but I've already given the money for the console.
Yeah, you've already paid for that.
I've already given the money for the console. And that's what I mean. Like, I've enjoyed the PlayStation this year, but PlayStation as a company, I think are awful, and I think they make a lot of shoddy decisions. But the games are great. So, do hope for less remasters of games that don't need remasters.
Yeah,
because
because
that would be lovely.
PlayStation is so you got 2 remakes, and you've got 3 ports from PS4 and then PS5.
Is that part of the 16?
Yeah.
Oh, so you've included like.
Yeah. So PlayStation has published
like Death Stranding Director's Cut.
They have published.
Oh, that bumps those numbers up, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so
but again, it's got 6. That's what I'm saying. They've published 16 games, which sounds a lot, but then I've got like annotations next to them. So I've got Death Stranding next to it, also on PS4. So to me, when I look on this list, I'm actually thinking that actually the PS5's only got like 3 games. This is why I've not been huge, going to go out the PS5. And it's the same. That's why I'm saying exactly the same about the Xbox. So, like, it has these 10 games where Halo Infinite I could have played on Xbox One, or Psychonauts 2 I could have played on PS4, and Dave's having obviously the better experience if he plays Horizon than me, where you can play it in 60 frames, etc. But it just feels like both of those systems are the previous systems, but running better.
Well, it's also, I think, it's very telling for me of how I've acquired both consoles. I won the PS5, so I would not have bought the PS5 had I not won it. And the Series X I got on an upgrade, so I have the all access thing, which I would not have done if that was not an option. I wouldn't have upgraded. I would have just kept my Series S and played it as little as I played the Series X. You know what I mean? So, like, I think it's very telling that, like, I think this again is still, like we said a year ago, it's still the least essential console upgrade ever.
That's the word I sort of. Neither are like
essential. No, like, if you're in a platform, then great. Like I say, like Craig is pure Xbox. It's
an essential sort of. Like,
if they put out
you're playing that much Xbox.
Yeah, like that's Craig's hobby. He can afford it. Like, it's not a question of, like, you know what I mean. Whereas, like, I feel like for me and you that buy too much, like, we probably don't need to. And, like, especially when you think the elephant in the room for you in particular, and even me a little bit, which is weird. When I looked at the games I've played this year, I have actually played way more games on Switch than I thought. But it's like the Switch, everything on the Switch that Nintendo make is exclusive, right? And how many games have Nintendo put out in those 2 years? I bet it's more than 10.
They have published in the same amount of time of PlayStation and Xbox 31 games. So they have published more than both the other two combined.
Yeah, and I'm sure again they've got teams on. Okay. It's a smaller console, so it's like they're different. They're not as difficult to make and all that kind of stuff, but still.
there is obviously, you have Famicom Detective Club, which is a NES remake. You have Disney Magical World Tour, which is a remaster of 3DS games. So they have their remasters and remakes as well. But even if you take them out, they have like, you know, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Pokemon Legends, Metroid Dread, new Pokemon Snap, Bravely Default 2 they published, Bayonetta 3. So they've had some big, big games in there as well. And Xenoblade Chronicles 3, for instance, if all come out in those 2 years, and it's, if you look at all the ports PlayStation had and the stuff on Xbox, they've had miles more content on the Switch compared to the other two.
And obviously, when Chris says content, he means exclusive content because that's how Chris works.
Yeah, as I say, because you've got to also think that they've not had the third party.
No, which is why they've had to make their own games. But like, it again is entirely preference of what you prefer. I know that Chris views measure stuff on exclusive, and I can understand that. Craig doesn't, and I'm kind of in the middle. Whereas I like an exclusive to push me to a platform, and then I'll play the third parties on that platform. Whereas Chris is exclusive, and Craig doesn't give a shit. It's on Xbox, so he's going to play it. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's an important thing to distinguish when we say no content. It's just the content that we particularly after. Like, Chris's exclusive content is what he wants.
Yeah,
right?
and that list of 31 is obviously just Nintendo published, and the PlayStation 1 is just PlayStation. Xbox, like Somerville, for instance, I could have, you could have put on the Xbox list. I could have put Valkyrie Elysium on the PlayStation list, and I could have put Monster Hunter Rise on the Switch list. You could boost any of them up to make even bigger or whatever thing, because there's those sort of timed exclusives and those weird console ones is well, but then I guess it's you think of those 31 Switch games. I've played 18 of them, so that's 18 of 31 games. That's quite a quite a few.
So many you haven't though, Chris. So many you haven't.
Yeah.
So many games.
Yeah, but the ones I haven't are like DC Superhero Girls. You can't forget DC Superhero Girls.
DC Superhero Girls.
You have played that, Chris. Not played that. You love that game. So I suppose to end this conversation, with the hypothetical questions I like to put up. So obviously, Craig, for you live in a Switch Xbox world right now. Is there any hope for the Switch next year? That's question one. Will you play it again?
I don't know.
Other than Monster Hunter Rise, which you're going to play with me.
And he has to put Breath of the Wild on his back. Oh no, we're not doing the backlog challenge. Just put on his backlog challenge.
Not doing that anymore.
I feel like if there's something like big that comes up, I want to play on it, then possibly. Or if there's a little break in stuff coming to Game Pass, then that would give it a bit of a hope.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Obviously, if Xbox put out a new console next year, you'd buy it.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I'd sell the Series X and then
get the Series S, X2 or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the more interesting question is obviously for Pengi. So Pengi, gun to your head, you get 2 platforms next year. What 2 platforms would they be? And you can't touch anything else but those 2 platforms next year.
So the Switch, obviously, just because of even the content. Like, I have a list of content coming next year as well. Like, Fire Emblem Engage comes out in January, for instance. I will be playing that. Tears of the Kingdom comes out, so Switch is a no-brainer of an answer.
Now the other one, Chris, because we all knew you were going to say Switch. You can only have one.
It's got to be a Steam Deck, surely.
You can only have a Steam Deck. You can only have a PlayStation. You can only have an Xbox. You can only have one. What one would you have?
I would go towards PlayStation, even though it's not on my list, because of Final Fantasy 16's next year.
Okay.
Because it's Square Enix and Square Enix are publishing and stuff like that.
How much more will it take for you to sell your Xbox?
I would not be selling my Xbox.
Okay. What about the Steam Deck? Will it get played next year?
It will get played.
It's been I forgot to mention it earlier, but it's been another 2 weeks since it's been mentioned. It's just sad, isn't it? Have you finished the game on it yet, Chris?
Yeah, I remember I finished that.
Not that tech demo. We're not including the tech demo.
I have not finished any other video game.
Oh god, that's
purchase,
damning. That is damning. Will Chris finish a game on the Steam Deck before the end of the year?
Longer than 5 hours.
That is.
I doubt it.
That's gone worse than I thought it would have gone, Dave.
They
I
did
thought
predict
it
it was
was
going
going
to
to
be
get
bad, didn't
bad, but I did not think it was going to go this bad. I thought it. Yeah, I don't know. I thought you'd at least play some stuff on it.
Love it. God.
Yeah.
And I suppose to ask myself that question, it would be Switch and PlayStation, and it wouldn't even be close. I don't think. Yeah. Not for new games. I'm a little bit different to Chris, and like I said, for PlayStation, I have not bought in the 2 years that PlayStation has been out. I've not bought a single full price PS5 game yet, and I don't plan on doing that. I can wait. I already saw spoilers for God of War before it even launched, so I can wait to play the game for myself in another couple of months. My backlog on PS5 is fine, and Nintendo is a really interesting conversation for me, and I would love to do a bigger episode about Nintendo in general, but it's like it's difficult because it's always going to have the nostalgia power more than anything else. It's so powerful, the nostalgia. Like I said, on a whim, I've bought Pokemon, and it's already my most played game of the last 3 months, apart from Onrush, which I'm 2 trophies away from, by the way. But yeah, I'm interested next year. I think we will start seeing new hardware next year, which I think is also going to be a kink in the system. I mean, for me, I would buy, if there was an actual upgraded Switch, as I have a launch Switch, I would buy if they did do a Switch Pro next year. I know this is the famous Pengels thing to say, but if they did do a Switch Pro next year, I think I would probably pre-order. You guys have got OLEDs. Like, I've literally got the day one awful battery. Joy-Cons barely work. They can barely understand what's going on anymore on my Switch. So I think that would be because I just can't turn down Pokemon, Fire Emblem, Mario, Zelda.
Well, that's the thing.
Mario
I'm
Kart.
saying, I'd say my two systems, Switch and PlayStation. I'm saying PlayStation because of Final Fantasy 16, but again, I got a list of the 15 sort of games with confirmed sort of dates between the 3 platform holders. Only Spider-Man out of the PlayStation 1 would make me get a PlayStation 5 and Spider-Man 2. So you got Stellar Blade coming to PS5. That's not a must-buy play sort of game. But Spider-Man 2 would be, but it's just one. Xbox would have none that I would have to rush out and get. Forza Motorsport will be mostly excellent, but I'm not into sim racer. Yet Nintendo, if I didn't have a Switch, I'd mostly go get one for Tears of the Kingdom, Fire Emblem, and Pikmin 4. Or if there was a Pro coming alongside one of them, I would have to get that, the Pro. Especially look how Pokemon runs. Those are the 3 sort of big ones, with the other 2 don't really still have any sort of must get out. PlayStation does have VR, which obviously Xbox doesn't have, which is a bit of a weird one, and that's so expensive to get into.
And for me, Xbox, Starfield could tempt me day one to really get into it. Forza Horizon 5's next expansion is a day one for me. Me and Craig always play it all the way through, within a day of it coming out. So that's you'll get me to turn my Xbox on for that, guaranteed. And then for me, it's the nostalgia hits that they do have. They do have a Fable coming. They do have Perfect Dark coming. If those games were to suddenly be out next year, or one of them would be, that would be an event. And everything I've said that I want from it, and that's the problem, Craig, is they're the games that would get me on the system to then play the new games. Because right now I'm playing everything on PlayStation. So when games come out, I'm I'm going to play them on PlayStation because I'm playing my PlayStation. That's the issue that I have with Xbox. So hopefully it'll change, but we'll see. I mean, Starfield, we'll see. We'll see with Starfield because I will download it. And I know I will, and then I'll play it. It's
I will say it now here. Out of the 2, I was going to say Obsidian, Bethesda games, Redfall will be better than Starfield.
Yeah, I'm probably looking forward to Redfall more than Starfield.
I'm looking for Redfall more because I know that we'll play it, but it's beyond that. I don't know if Starfield isn't a 9 to 10 out of 10 game, then I think it's going to be an awful year for any social media for an Xbox fan. But anyway, that's our discussion. I hope you've liked our almost hour chat about Xbox, PlayStation, a little bit of Switch, and a tiny smidge of Steam Deck, because obviously Chris doesn't actually play it. Let us know what you think of the first 2 years of the new current gen, and we will, of course, see you next week. Thank you very much.
Bye.